Welcome, everybody, as the American Space Museum brings you Stay Curious. I'm Mark Marquette, and we're so glad that you joined us today with Byron Trip Banks. Welcome, Byron.
Hey, nice to meet you.
He likes to be
Good
called
to see you.
Trip, and so we have a great little conversation today for you all about his very interesting career that spans over 30 years with NASA, working in the suit room and astronaut crew support here in Houston and also here at the Kennedy Space Center. He's going to tell us a little about that, but you might see his little friend over here in the corner. That's Teddy Tusker. And Trip has retired, and he has gone into children's book world there. So he's going to tell us all about his little buddy Teddy Tusker and his well, it's your second career sort of thing. So,
Absolutely.
So we wanted to thank everyone for watching and let them know that we're coming to you from the Hyatt Place studios inside the American Space Museum in downtown Titusville. And we're so glad that we had a wonderful event this Saturday. We met, Byron was there with Teddy Tusker Books. How'd you look at the event this weekend as we celebrated the golden anniversary of the shuttle?
Well, oh my gosh, I was overwhelmed for inaugural and trying to get this together. You guys did a monumental job. The support was spectacular. Just walking in the place and seeing old friendly faces of people I used to work with and hadn't seen in years, and they hadn't changed a bit.
Yeah, right.
And then, of course, all your static displays and
just get a little closer there.
Yeah.
We're ironing out. Excuse me there,
That's
Trip,
okay.
but we're ironing out our audio here for our Stay Curious guests as we've got a boardroom. Is a board meeting going on in our studio there. So we were in our Hubble Gallery, Trip. I forgot to mention. Here's the cosmic reef of the Hubble telescope, launched 32 years ago next week. We'll ask you if you were involved with that. But we were talking about you vending a little bit there and meeting old friends at our event that we had, a big success at the Hyatt Place.
Great event. And
we promised you 2 astronauts and 4 showed up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was great to see them as well. Story Musgrave showing up, that was a surprise.
Absolutely.
That was great. And of course, Nicole. Of course, Mike's always there, and of course, you got Winston. Oh God, what a great guy Winston is.
Well, that's what we're all
guy.
about. For 20 years, Trip, we've been celebrating the birth of the space age right here in what we call the delivery room, Brevard County, and you certainly have a big part of that in your shuttle era in there, and we're going to talk all about that. And we're going to talk about that. Just tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how you got in the space business.
Okay, well,
I'll lean into the mic there.
Okay,
please.
Well, I'll be real quick. I'm an old guy, so I got some history. I think I was around when they invented dirt. Actually, I was the first guy to market it. But anyway, my dad was a military guy, so I grew up all over. I was in Europe. I was all over the United States. But he retired and moved to Florida. So I got here in '76, probably 9th grade. Went to Merritt Island High School. Graduated, did some schooling here.
You're a Mustang at the Merritt Island High School.
Yes, just had our 41st not too long ago. And anyway, progressed along through school, ended up getting a job out at Texas Instruments in Dallas, and worked out there for a few years. And then my mom, who was a real estate agent out here in Merritt Island area, had a guy working with her by the name of John Presnell. John Presnell was the head of the JSC resident office. And she said she had a son that wanted to come back and work at the space program. So she worked with John, and John finagled some things and ended up actually getting first. I came with her, and then I got on in January of '89 with NASA.
Good, January '89. So that was right in the of course after the Challenger accident and stuff. So everything had been reset and all that. 31 years with NASA before retiring. His broad career includes astronaut crew support responsibilities with the launch and entry suit. So you know Triple T pretty well, I reckon, right?
We worked in the same circles. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and you like to fish, hunt, and travel to Mississippi to see your family.
That's correct.
Mississippi's a fun state there, home of Apollo 13's. Fred Hayes is from Biloxi, you know.
Okay.
You know that, of course, I think. But now you want to be involved in science, technology, engineering, and arts and math education for kids.
That's correct.
And we're going to see some pictures about his career here, but why? Why don't you just want to be retired and travel and spend all that good pension money from your good career?
Well, yeah, you're right, though. Being self-published, it does take a little chunk of change, but the government did okay. I did all right. But let's just say when I retired in February of 2020, I still had gas in the tank. Unfortunately, we went through a pandemic. Mm-hmm. I was busy putting up my shingle for a limited liability company doing engineering consulting. And at that point, unfortunately, a lot of people just didn't want to do a lot of expanding of business or development or anything because they were trying to figure out how they were going to just maintain what they were doing during a pandemic.
Right.
So that kind of got put on hold, and I thought about what I needed to do, and what I thought I needed to do was actually impart some of my knowledge of working out at the Space Center. And it wasn't, a lot of people have written books, and they're great books. A lot of people have their experiences, and they're wonderful. But I hadn't seen a whole lot kind of focused towards kids, children. Mm-hmm. And that's the seed corn. That's where you want to target. That's where you want to inspire people. I think the U.S. has kind of lagged behind other countries as far as really beefing up the STEM kind of project, the engineering, the mathematics, and things like that. So I wanted to try to hit the kids at an early age and get them something that they could grasp onto. So I thought coming up with a cartoon character and their family and learning about space would be fun.
Cool. And we'll hear all about Teddy Tusker and his adventures to space there. I know we've got a lot of people watching us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Spotify. Hope Sharon McDougall's out there, one of them, your compatriot. Sharon is the suit tech that we did a meeting, Stay Curious with from Houston, and she has her own little Shay the astronaut.
Correct. Yeah.
And a book in there, and you're very. You know her very well. So
well, yeah, Sharon and I worked together for a while. Unfortunately, she didn't give me a shout out on your show. She mentioned Ronnie Woods, but he's the more popular one, so I'm okay with that.
Well, he did suit up Buzz Aldrin.
Buzz,
so,
yep, you got Buzz. That's correct.
There. Well, we're going to get back to our guest here, Byron Tripp Banks, 31 years with NASA, but now he wants to be an author inspiring the next generation of kids, just like we love here in our museum. Mm-hmm. But we can't get by this date. We wanted to say thank you again to the wonderful job that everyone at the Hyatt Place did. There is their observation deck taken by Mark Usiak, and he superimposed a rocket launch off 39A there that we're getting ready to hopefully do Saturday. But we'd be remiss if we didn't say that Marty Winkle, my cameraman, co-producer for over 500 episodes of Stay Curious, Marty, your lunar module number 11 is sitting on the moon right there as Apollo 16 landed on the moon today, 50 years ago, Trip. Yeah, give it
amazing.
How many news stories are going to be about that? There is one of the astronauts, I think is probably, did you see the stripes on the suit or not, Marty? If there's no stripes, that's Charlie Duke, who's 86 years old. Yeah. And John Young has passed away. That is the first telescope taken to an alien world. That's an ultraviolet light telescope that they took some pictures with. And, of course, the rover and the flag. 4/20/1972 is when we landed at about 9 o'clock at night Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to do our Stay Curious program tomorrow, all about Apollo 16, and talk about that wonderful Grumman lunar module that performed flawlessly and even saved a few astronauts' lives that was unexpected to do. Yeah. So tomorrow on Stay Curious, it'll be all about the Apollo 16 lunar landing 50 years ago. Marty was involved as the chairman of the Apollo 13 reunion that they had in February, and Charlie Duke was there because Charlie was back. He was the Capcom on Apollo 11, of course. But Marty, was he back up on 13? Is that what he was? Back up, a lunar pilot?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I try to think of the connection with 13. Why he was at our.
He was Capcom.
Oh, he was Capcom. Yeah. Okay. All right.
When he
Good.
had the explosion.
Okay.
No.
No, he was. He was Capcom
Jack
for Apollo
Lawson.
11 landing,
Yeah, Jack
but
Lawson.
Jack Lawson was the Capcom for 13. He was one of the. I think he was the second backup team on there. But anyway, what a fabulous mission! 3 days camping out on the moon. Can you imagine that? I mean, have you camped out 3 days in a tent?
Yeah.
And the third day, what that tent looks like?
Yeah, but I like air.
You like air? Okay. Bryan, we also celebrate on Stay Curious our shuttles of every month. You're now getting involved with our programs here, and you said you looked at some past episodes. 16 shuttles launched in the month of April. Can you believe that? And of that, shuttles is 95 people put in spacesuits.
Wow.
And how many of those were women? 11 were women. All right. And this is a month of a lot of science missions, like Space Lab Neurological, Space Lab 3. The second German lab was put up this time. The radar that they did from space and found a lot of underground ruins in the Sahara and so forth. Atlas 2, big important atmospheric satellite. And the LDEF, the long duration exposure facility, was put in space as gamma ray. So a lot of great missions that we highlight frequently on our Stay Curious program here as we celebrate the Space Shuttle era and our space workers like our guest here, Bryan, like no other out there, I guarantee you. We're very proud of that. Here's my shuttles of April chart to check out real quick. That in today on the 20th, we have STS-59 landing and STS-90s orbiting Earth and STS-100. So we've got 3 shuttles, basically 14 astronauts orbiting on this date, and 6 landed in the afternoon here. So that's fun to think about that kind of history, and it connects us with you space workers and our astronauts out there. We love our shuttle astronauts, and dear to our heart is Nicole Stott. And Nicole has a great book out that Return to Earth is the name. I forget the exact name of the book. It's Back to Earth is what it's called. And she has what we call Stott-isms in this book that is about the solutions to the global climate change going on. And stay grounded is one of Nicole's, this beautiful earthlings, one of her sayings, stay grounded. An example of that is right there. I'm staying grounded out at the beach Sunday, on Easter Sunday. After our big event, I needed to get grounded, okay? And that's the best way and that's literally what Nicole's talking about, is let your feet touch the earth. Get involved with this planet that we're all share together. So
that looks great. Well, you did put a lot of work into that event.
Well, thank you. And we'll have Shuttle Fest 2 in 2023, okay. So we'll book Teddy Tusker for it.
That'd be great.
But we're now going to, and we thank our space histories like these are because of a grant from the Marie Louise G. West Endowment. We're grateful for the money they gave us to buy the computer equipment and so forth on there. But let's get in a little bit of your NASA career. You gave me a PowerPoint of some pretty pictures of you. You got all kinds of different hairstyles there, like we all did back in the day. But this is sort of like your point out those pictures to us there, Bryan.
Well, yeah. Well, if you look at it to your 9 o'clock, that's actually my retirement picture. That is the last boss I ever had besides me.
What's his name?
That is Tony Anania. I was working in the Information and Technology and Communications Directorate. I was doing data center services. And that was about the time I decided to get out. And Tony was a great boss. He was nice. That was nice enough to take some time and come down. That's right there at the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building. Mm-hmm. They got the NASA meatball right there. I think the NASA meatball is the coolest thing in the world. The NASA worm, maybe second coolest, but that is great. So to sit there, I never walked on that symbol. I always walked around it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Everybody goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, it's kind of like the flag. I just never wanted to walk on it."
Is that Al Sheridan, somebody's spacesuit there in the corner. There.
I don't remember
We
whose
got
suit
two,
that
but
is, but we
who's
had a
flown.
couple of static displays in there, and then up at the probably 12 o'clock position, that's me
Top
in
right.
Atlantis,
Uh-huh.
where we're doing fit checks in there without a lot of the stuff out. And of course, I did what everybody's not supposed to. I took off my cap and my face shield because I had facial hair, and got a picture of me because it's not as cool looking when you can't see your face and
That's
you're an
right.
astronaut.
Yeah.
So, and then that's actually the last shuttle launch.
35 there.
Yep, they were very nice and giving a lot of access to the employees out there, whether you worked shuttle or not, or whether you were infrastructure or whatever you were. They were giving a lot of access. You ride a bus, you go out there, and you get your pictures with it. Of course, back in the day, I used to be all up and down that thing and
I
inside.
mean, you got off the bus and then they handed you your pink slip, right?
Well,
That's a nice way of doing it.
I was smart enough to get. I switched boats in 2007 before shuttle went completely away and went over to infrastructure from
Okay.
Kennedy.
Well, let's look here. A couple other memory lane pictures here for you.
Yeah, well,
That's some sort of shop you worked in.
back in the day, that's the flight crew. I'm pointing, and you guys can't see it. But back in the day, the biggest picture there is the flight crew equipment lab that used to be in the VAB.
Oh.
And of course, that became an issue, obviously, because we're not.
VAB being the big vehicle assembly
Right,
building.
correct.
That's our Devil's Tower everywhere we look.
Right,
around
and we
here.
had stacked vehicles in there, and of course we had the SRBs, and they're fully ready to go. So it's a hazard. So there, to people that not inherent to that kind of stacking and things like that, it was a liability. So we had to move, and these pictures were taken to show what the maximum occupancy of these buildings were. When we get a load from Houston, from the flight crew equipment to process and put into the mid deck and the flight deck and the airlock and some things out in the payload bay, we wanted to show how much room we really needed, because sometimes with these long duration missions, it was getting bigger and bigger. So that was just kind of me as reference in the background to show how much stuff we had. Of course, that's the famous Ronnie Woods there. This is one of our famous spreads in the VAB.
Oh, is that Ron Woods there?
Yeah, he is.
We're going to have a show with Ron Woods, an outstanding photographer. I
Yep.
mean, artist, not
Correct.
photographer.
Yeah, and that's one of his pictures in the background there. And of course, I'm feeding him some of the food there. He's
Okay.
poking my arm, so we're clowning around. And then of course, Dryden Edwards for launch and recovery of one of the vehicles. We've got a lot of those pictures. When we
You
went
were
to
out
Edwards.
there as a suit tech
Well,
for the Dryden
for that, for
landings?
the suit techs didn't actually would go out there and they would help them doff their suits, and then they're gone. Because the astronauts would turn around, get on the shuttle training aircraft or one of the G4 the Gulfstreams, and fly back so they can get back to see their family, back to see debriefings. And my job was to go in and make sure after the techs went in and removed all the early return hardware, which was Hasselblad film, IMAX
Okay.
film, all the experimentation that had to be quick turned around. We would go in there, garner it all, wrap it up, and then we put it on a T-38 where an astronaut would fly that stuff back so that they had it readily available.
Yeah, that we had a conversation about that. Where yes, you said that when they landed out at Edwards, there were some very sensitive payloads that had to be immediately accessed and whisked back to Houston or wherever they're. Some of them may have gone to the universities directly, or
Yeah, well, some of them, I think
or-
most
or
of it
other
would go back to,
institutions?
it had to go back through the process.
so he went
So
to
it would
Houston.
go back to the flight equipment processing contract and those
Uh-huh.
people that were responsible for the hardware, and they would turn it over back to the experimenters and things like that. But a lot of it was for the astronauts for debriefing.
Mm-hmm.
And then this here is our modern facility that we actually put it in the space station processing facility, and you can see we got a lot more room.
Right.
We got a lot more room, and that's kind of showing. We designed it. We all had a powwow, got all the requirements together, and then voiced those to the KSC people. We got an architectural firm, and we had this thing so that the processing of the flight hardware was very easy. In the VAB, we had one little small elevator, and it was just a nightmare. This big trucks come in, unload it, get it through. We receive it, get it ready, pack any hardware that needed to go, and then put it in the vehicle.
Some more little memory lane pictures there of you.
Yeah, every time we had something new that was going to go in the mid deck, flight deck, or airlock, we had to do fit checks, and a lot of those fit checks would happen in Houston. The bottom left-hand corner is what we call the 1G trainer, which is just a fancy word for a training, a mock-up of the vehicle, and we would go in. I think in this instance we were developing a stowage bag that would go in the airlock. And so they, again, kept flying more stuff, and now we're going to use the floor in the airlock as a place to put a bag and secure it so that it wouldn't fly away without also getting in the way of the EMUs that were stowed in there. So we were doing that. That's me probably in the 1G trainer at the top. That's me in the airlock with the EMUs stowed up in the top right corner. Again, the 1G trainer in the potty.
In the potty there.
The waste containment system.
Waste containment system.
And then there's a picture of me holding an Oscar, a real Oscar.
Really?
That was actually stowed in the middeck and then presented from space by the crew to Steven Spielberg.
Oh, really? What crew was that, I wonder? I forget that mission.
And I forgot.
All right.
It's on the back of the picture, which unfortunately is in digital format.
Right.
So this was thrown together pretty quickly. I'm sorry about that, and I'll have more information on that. But it was really, really cool to do. And that thing is heavy.
Yeah, a full Oscar. I never knew that an Oscar flew to space. Did you, Marty? We'll have to ask Triple T about that. If he told us about the vodka they smuggled.
Well, I saw that. I never saw any of that.
So here's a couple other little pictures about your career there.
Yeah, of course, we're out at Edwards Dryden again. The vehicle's being towed back to get the mate-demate device so we can get the stuff out. Top right corner, that's me in the pilot seat of the SCA aircraft that carried the shuttle. Those are the middeck seats. Those were designed to be in the middeck, and then once on orbit, they would fold them up and put them out of the way so they had room up on the pad for the emergency escape baskets. And then, of course, again, some more pictures.
Oh, you're up there on the pad, the emergency escape baskets.
Yep.
So that's in the lower left-hand corner there.
Correct.
So what sticks out in your mind of one of the weirder things that was in the payload that you had to get out quickly? Were there primates involved? And
Urine.
Okay.
Urine and blood and other items that they were conducting experiments
on
the crew and on the
astronauts.
experiment, and there was a lot of that stuff. In some cases, they would
medical, of course. We all know that urine and blood's how we all stay safe.
And you had to be careful
and all that. So that would make sense. One of the first things to come.
Yeah, I think the wet trash. Wet trash is anything that's food oriented. Could be moist towelettes, whatever. All that stuff. It's very stinky, very bad. And we always had to go through it because sometimes the astronaut wouldn't remember and they would throw science in that bag. So we'd have to open it up, dump it out, and try to go through it and find. Yeah. So that was probably the most unique stuff.
Well, here are a couple other pictures here.
The top one's the Pathfinder. That, of course, is the flight that goes in front of the shuttle when we ferry it back from a different location. The shuttle can't fly through weather. It's got the TPS system, the thermal protection system.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we fly that at 10,000 feet, and the Pathfinder is an Air Force plane that goes out in front of it a couple of miles and flies for it. And of course, they're looking for weather, and anything they do, they can, even though we have radar and things like that, other things are come up very quickly. So they would steer around it, and then the 747 would just fly, on its back heel. So that was that. I was there when we would land. We would do vehicle inspections, make sure none of the TPS, a bird didn't hit the shuttle or something like that. So we do that, and of course, if we did have a problem, I could write paper. Everything was done.
Was that something that would happen? A bird hitting the shuttle?
It didn't happen on mine. I haven't heard too many. But if there was anything that was out of the ordinary, we had people there that could document it, so they could say that, hey, that didn't happen on orbit.
Right.
It happened in transit, so we could do those kind of things. That was mostly the stuff that we were there for. And of course, everything was done in paper.
Yeah, paper back then.
Work authorization documents, and you had to have quality, and you had to have a Fed, and you had to have a contractor. So we had all those eyes looking at stuff. So that's what I did, a lot of signing.
One of my favorite NASA pieces of paper trip is the AVO. Avoid verbal orders.
Yeah.
Where if I say, Trip, be here at 3 o'clock for Stay Curious, you say, well, give me an AVO on that triplicate.
That's right.
And we've got it in our workers gallery there.
Absolutely.
And Marty thinks it's silly that I think that's a cool thing. But the AVO
it had to happen because it was an official way of tracking orders that weren't written down in documentation.
Yeah, you saw him smile and go, yep, I think it. But there's just so much of that people don't realize and take for granted that's an email today.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you had to have. You couldn't just avoid verbal orders. I mean, if somebody said something to you, you're like, well, wait a minute. Did I say Thursday or Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Marty and I are always like that because we're old men. And he's like, well, I told you that. Well, I didn't hear it. Of course, I do finally have a hearing appointment lined up, Marty. But that made sense to me. It was avoid verbal orders. Here, okay, on there. And it's just like a little Post-it note, oversized there.
Yeah.
Well, here's a bunch of your family, I would take it, that you worked with. Huh?
This was a little bit later in the career. I had gotten done with my flight crew equipment experience, and I had moved.
Let's see, where are you? Second on the left on the second row?
Yeah, second row, left. Still got the facial hair. These are some of the smartest people I've ever worked with. I mean, doctors and engineers, and I don't know if you know John Cowart. He's the boss. He's top right-hand corner. John Cowart is on the Speakers Bureau. Mm-hmm. He's well sought after. He is very knowledgeable about all things shuttle related and space related. He was I think he was Captain Coward of Space Command when he was out at Vandenberg. I mean, that was actually his title.
Captain Coward.
Yeah, Cowart. His last
Coward.
name was Cowart. Cowart. Okay. Yeah, and he was a great boss. We actually that was the shuttle engineering. So there's quality guys there. There's mechanical, electrical, propulsion, chemistry. Everything's there. That was a great
good
group.
Family picture there in 2007.
That's
so
correct.
That's a little bit of time gone by there. 15 years.
Yeah. I look a lot younger there.
And wait, we go to this one, and then that's one of the last of your.
Yeah, and that's kind of the bittersweet one. That is actually the Reconstruction hangar for Colombia.
Oh.
This was after the accident.
Definitely
That august group you saw there was, since we were JSC at KSC, we were responsible for a lot of the liaison work going back and forth with the engineering back at JSC on how construction was going and data reports and things like that. And at the time, I was doing a project that was using relatively new stuff, laser scanning and telemetry, to do the outer mold line on all the vehicles because, as you know, everything was in paper. All the drawings, original drawings for shuttle and how they were built, are in paper drawings. Mm-hmm. So we were in the process of going and getting those digitized and getting them into an electronic form. But also, every vehicle's different. They were built the same, but they flexed differently. Columbia was heavier, it had more instrumentation on it. It was a little beefier. So you can't just one size fits all. Mm-hmm. So we were going off and doing laser scanning for fit checks so that we would know ahead of time what the tolerances were for different maintenance work or GSE platforms or things like that. Well, when that happened, Colombia, unfortunately, the tragedy with Colombia, so I beat on the door until somebody let me get in there so I could start taking the laser scanning and the telemetry and scanning the debris pieces. And then we would take those and match them to the outer mold line in virtual space with very precise algorithms and tell you best fit scenarios of how the pieces fit together.
Wow.
So that was very interesting and rewarding work.
Huh.
And that's me telling the CABE, that's actually the accident investigating the admiral on there on the right, and I'm briefing him on what we're doing.
It seems like so many people were involved with the Columbia. I mean, almost every space worker I've talked to had some little area that they were involved with.
Well, you wanted to. You felt responsible for it. I mean, you did the work, and they were counting on you, and you kind of felt that responsibility that you needed to be there to find out what happened.
Huh. Well,
and we did.
And you did, and the lessons learned on there. Well, there you are with your retirement there. But now the fun stuff, where Marty, we're gonna talk about Teddy Tusker here. There's old Teddy there, and these are before Marty zooms in on changes the graphic there. What are we looking at there? Your two books.
Well, we got my first book up on the left. We have Teddy's well-known catchphrase, which is "Dream big, do bigger."
Okay.
This is to inspire youth, small children, to want to explore, whether it's space or just technological subjects in engineering, mathematics, those kind of things. I remember growing up, I had a wood burning set, and then I got a chemistry set, and I was doing those kind of things and loved those kind of things. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that a little bit. Everybody's got everybody's got a computer degree at 5.
Yeah.
Right. But something the earth science, physical sciences, things like that, mathematics are very important. That's how we go to space. That's how we explore. And then of course the first book is actually
Marty, give us the video, video where there we go. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. The first book I wrote, like I said, the first year of COVID, and got it out, and was very fortunate to find a wonderful artist. They're fully color illustrated hardbacks. The artist actually lives up in Maryland. She's a daughter of a friend of mine, very talented, and she and I just connected. I would give her the ideas. I would say what the scene was, and she'd go, "Boom, okay, there it is." And I go, "That's exactly right." Teddy and his family are sitting at the breakfast table. Boom, there you go. And it's pretty much it's the story. The first story is about Teddy going to the space center, and while they're there, they meet astronaut Andy. And astronaut Andy takes a special liking to him, and he takes him on a personal tour of the space center, and Teddy gets to learn about it. And then, of course, some of the bigger words, the more technical terms, I've highlighted. And in the back of the book, there's a vocabulary section, and there's different contexts, that they can use, so it helps kids learn some of the more technical jargon, like monitors or experiment or things like that. And then in the second book, Teddy decides to bring Andy to his show and tell at his school. And when Andy shows up, Andy's telling them about the space station. And while Andy's telling them about the space station and answering questions, Teddy, in his mind, imagines that he's up on the space station doing the things that Andy's describing. So that way the kids get an idea of what we do on the space station, that it's an international venture. There's different people on there. There's different crew. We're going to, at some point in the future, we're going to return our crew with the SLS, with Orion, and it's going to come and splash down in the water. We return our crew right now on the land with the Russians' help. So, and again, this one has the vocabulary section at the back, kind of helps kids with some of the bigger words. And I've had people buy these for babies, and they read it to them. And the kids obviously don't know what's going on, but they love the pictures. They can point to the pictures, oh, that's an elephant, and things like that. And then as the children grow, they can start reading it from themselves, and they start grasping those concepts that would normally be a little bit more complicated or a little bit more out of their time. So that's what I've hoped to accomplish and do. It's more of a hobby right now. Obviously, I self-publish, and I do all the stuff myself, and I contract out the work for putting the book together and get a bookbinder company to actually do that. I don't have a publisher. If anybody knows any publishers who'd like to take on another project, or a writing agent, please have them give me an email. I'm at teddytusker.com.
Yeah.
Got it right there, teddytusker.com.
teddytusker.com.
Shameless plug.
Well, no, that's what we're here to plug you on here. And I noticed that you have this. I dedicate this book to my mom and dad in heaven. They said I could do it. I wish I'd done it sooner.
Absolutely.
It kind of gets to be a little bit there.
Yep.
But God bless you for finally doing it. Yeah.
They see it.
Very clean looking. We all that have kids have had a favorite book that even before our kids could read and talk, you would read them to them there, you know. And yeah, this would be a very good one. It's very dynamic, got a lot of color in it, and the pictures, and astronaut Andy reminds me of astronaut Andy Allen here at our Space Center.
I can't confirm or deny if that is after him.
We've had old Slick on the show once, and he's a great friend of our museum and just an awesome leader. Yeah. Not just an astronaut, but Andy Allen is a super leader in the TOS world out there.
Absolutely. Got his own company now, Aerodyne.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, what's your and Danielle Campbell was the illustrator here. Okay.
Shout out to Danny. Hey, Danny.
And so we hope that she gets to watch our Stay Curious here. So you got a couple more ideas in the works?
Absolutely, I do. Teddy's going to go to the moon.
Oh yeah.
We're going to the moon, right?
Right.
So Teddy's got to go to the moon.
Absolutely.
So Andy will go to the moon. And then he will have a virtual communication back with Teddy through some kind of setup. And, of course, he'll explain what's going on the moon. And, of course, Teddy will envision and imagine that he's up there with Andy doing the things that Andy's doing. So that'll be the third book in the series.
Dream big, do bigger. Right behind off your left side there, your buddy there. And why did you choose an elephant?
I've always liked elephants.
Okay.
Okay. And I actually
you could have a flamingo.
Well, it could have been a flamingo. I don't know. I guess I don't know. elephants are very intelligent.
Yeah.
And they're very emotional and they're very family oriented. If you know anything about elephants, and I even named my company, my limited liability company, is Black Tusk Enterprises, and the logo is an elephant. So yeah, it's everybody can relate to an elephant. I'm sure they could have done a groundhog or a squirrel or anything like that too, but Teddy just resonated with me, and dreaming big and doing bigger. I mean, you see him as a small child, and then elephants can get very, very large and stuff. So it kind of all went together at that point.
I like it. I think it's a good vehicle there. Elephants are very, harmless and good vibes with everything on there. We wanted to show you a couple. Well, anything else about Teddy Tusker?
No, that's good. If you guys want, I took them off of Amazon. They weren't moving, and I don't have the money, unfortunately, to get them moving on Amazon. But they are available at teddytusker.com.
Okay.
I autograph them and sign them, and I can make them out to whatever you want, or a child's name, or saying, or whatever you want. I can get those, and I can ship them to you. I had a really great time at the 50th shuttle celebration.
Met some good people.
Met some great people, and I got some contacts of people who do instructional programs for children who would like to maybe have this. I give these out free to libraries and teachers and schools. It's important, like I said, it's a hobby right now, and it's more important to get the books in the hands of the people that need them, and that's the children. So teachers have really grabbed onto these. The libraries, Titusville Library has one. I'm going to get them the second one that just came out, get them one. So yeah, anybody who knows teachers, contact me at teddytusker.com. The information to contact me is there on teddytusker.com.
Well, I applaud your entrepreneurial spirit,
Thank you.
wanting to do something outside of a career that's completely outside the box of stuff that you did there. And so I applaud you on that.
Thank you.
We've had a nice conversation with Bryan Banks here. Bryan, I wanted you to show a couple little brag pieces that he brought a few of his little space flown things that we'll save that for last.
Yeah, that's the crown. That's a crown jewel.
But there is a flag that was space flown, and of course we've got a flag on the moon on Apollo 16 50 years ago. And this is presented to Bryan Banks in appreciation for your significant contribution to the successful processing of DoD small payloads flown on the Space Shuttle, meaning top secret. So this was on STS-44, a Department of Defense mission. So you kept your mouth shut, and they gave you the flag there.
That's exactly right.
About the top.
Back when we did fly some DoD missions, and of course with that and handling that stuff, you had to have your clearances. So I was well vetted, and I was clean.
But here's something unique. Here is a special patch that I've never seen, and there's a lot of specialty patches out there. So tell us about this one on STS-43. Which astronaut Jim Adamson was a mission specialist, and Jim is a friend of our museum. He's going to stay curious. An excellent show. Jim Adamson, if he wasn't an astronaut, is still an amazing individual. He's, but this is 1991. David Lowe signed it. He passed away.
Unfortunately.
It says John F. Kennedy, Flight Crew Systems, Space Center, Florida.
Yeah, the unsung heroes, a lot of that stuff, the contractors who went out to the vehicle and stowed the mid-deck payloads areas, the flight deck, the airlock, the EMUs, the extravehicular mobility units, all those things. Those guys did that, and they did it all the time. I mean, they were out there. They supported landings. They put launch there, whatever time it was, and we decided that Ron Woods, back when we were there, and he was my lead, we decided we really wanted to do something that signified kind of little pride item, little morale item, and we all decided we wanted to do a patch. And that was the cool idea, and we got everybody's input, so everybody had their say about what the patch would look like. And Ronnie Woods, being the artist that he is, he came up with the final. But then the crowning achievement was actually to get them flown.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had to lobby, and it was a good lobby, and they saw it our way, and we got them flown, and then we passed those out to all the guys who are the original members, and then as people came on and got a significant award or something like that, we would hand those out as an award or an achievement for the new people.
We love things like this, and being involved in this museum with the memorabilia like I am. There's so many of these. I don't know how many of these specialty patches are out there, but different areas have a lot of them. And the astronauts were usually happy to fly them because they knew that it was a chain link that couldn't be broke between the workers and the safety of their lives.
I think the launch directors at your 50th annual said that some of the nicest things ever about how they had the easiest job, and it was all of us who had to be the guys.
Yeah, wasn't that interesting to talk to the launch directors? And Mike Leinbach said, my job was to keep the shuttle on the ground.
Yep.
Until everything was clear but his job was to keep it on the ground as long as possible.
Convince me you can launch it.
Yeah,
Convince me you can launch it.
Well, we've really enjoyed this conversation with you, Trip, and we'll go out with a little baseball since it's baseball season. And Marty, I may even get up here just to show people a little up close that is the great Cal Ripken Jr. Okay, I got it right there. Yeah, I can see it. That's the great Cal Ripken Jr. That's not his rookie card, is it?
It is. That's his rookie card. Oh, I had to get one that was significant.
All right. Well, so tell us about that story, Trip. Where's your holding that?
Well, Cal Ripken, obviously the Iron Man of baseball, broke Lou Gehrig's record as far as consecutive games played. Big hero of mine growing up. Baltimore Orioles fan. Rough years now, but this was fun for me. And I got this, and it's in great condition. It's from '82. This is his rookie card, and I wanted to do something significant with this. So I, being in the suit room on many occasions for flight, to issue paper in case there was issues going on, and to make sure McDougal wasn't doing anything wrong.
Right. Hear that,
or Jolene Jones. Hi, Jolene. Anyway, I went up to Kurt Brown, who I knew.
The commander.
Pretty well, and I said, "Hey, Kurt, can you do me a solid?" He's like, "What you got?" And I said, "Could you fly this for me?" And he goes, grabbed it right out of my hand, didn't even question, just grabbed it out of my hand, opened up his pumpkin suit, stuck it in his sleeve, said, "Done." And I was like, "Okay." I said, and I didn't even want to ask, like, "Can I get it back at a certain time? How are we going to?" I was like, "Okay," and I was done. And then when we recovered, and I talked to him, he came out and goes, "Hey, Bryan," he's like, "Excuse me, hey, Bryan, here." And I'm like, "Oh crap!" You're
really?
right out in front of everybody. I'm like, "Oh no, am I going to get in trouble?" He's like, "No, here you go." It's like, "Okay, thanks." So big thanks. Yeah, big thanks to Kurt Brown on that. That's my crowning achievement. A flown vehicle.
Kurt Brown. We've talked about him a lot on our Stay Curious program. 5 flights, 3 times a commander, and the commander of the famous STS-95 John Glenn, which Triple T always talks about, that Kurt Brown says, "Hey, there's some other astronauts on this flight besides John Glenn. Why don't you talk to a few of them?" But that's so cool being a baseball fan. Hall of Famer Cal Ripken, one of the really good guys on there. Space flown. How cool is that? How cool is that? Mark UCX watching out there. Christopher Mix watching. He's in Hudson, Wisconsin. Dave Stange. They're
Dave.
Dave Stange. You know Dave?
No, don't.
They're freezing up in Michigan still. We got a little bit of that cold weather. It's a little bit.
It's breezy out there.
It got down to the 60s last night. So, Gary Gerald's watching. Thank you. Robert Law has a big screen TV and a cocktail in Dundee, Scotland.
How do I look?
Because it's evening there. Pam Shivik. Thank you, Pam, for staying curious. Ophelia Sauterel's watching us in Normandy, France. Thank you, Ophelia. We got Martique Melinda, Angela Sazga. Well, I did the best I could with that, Marty. You spelled it good. Marta Celinda, Angela Siga. James Michael Sigler, Keith Sewell, Melissa Pope, thank you for watching. Get back to work in the Space Coast Office of Tourism there, Melissa. She's over in Cocoa Beach. And Tom Usiak wants to know, where did the name Trip come from, your nickname?
It's actually a very short story. As you know, in some of my certifications and awards, they spell my name wrong.
He is Bryan, which Jessica Galloway, our Trekkie Techie, probably thought I spelled it wrong there too.
So
she was questioning that. So thank
there
you,
was,
Jessica.
There was that, and then in a later aspect of my life with working at NASA, there was a lot of Bryans where I happened to be, and I was tired of getting action items that were signed for other people. So I officially changed my name to Trip within the global address list that lets you go in there and change your specifics. And I used to get birthday cards from the center directors with Bryan, and then they would scratch it out and put Trip with a pen because they knew that's what I went by. So I arrived. So it's pretty much just convenience. Got tired of having the name spelled wrong, tired of getting action items that weren't to this Bryan, so I became Trip.
All right. All right, not because it's 420 today, the Stoner's holiday, but nothing to do with that, okay? Well, Trip, it's been awesome, and a pleasure to meet you, of course, another new friend of our museum, Marty, and we want to know more about Teddy Tusker there to your left there. And I like the saying there, dream big and do bigger, okay?
Thank you. Pleasure being here.
Because one of my mantras is exceed expectations,
and failure is not an option.
That's right. That's right. We got a bunch of them out there. Well, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to share with our Stay Curious viewers?
Oh, no, I think this has been great. I'd love to come back. I've got more pictures, more memorabilia, and things like that.
Yeah, we'll have you here. You've got a very fascinating career. I mean. Looks like you travel a lot and got to meet a lot of neat people, but being in the astronaut suit room is always a special thing. That's definitely an ultra VIP situation there,
a lot of fun.
because there's a lot of it's serious. All right.
Tell you about the card games.
And, card games, okay. Well, buddy, we'll have you back. We appreciate you and everything, and good luck to you and Teddy Tusker there.
Thank you.
And we were talking with Karen Conklin. We could get a children's book section going here with all of our wonderful guests that are doing that here. So, well, Marty, thank you for your great job today. Jessica, she was in the background there. We were trying to our YouTube channel is going bonkers, and we're almost at the point to monetize it. And there's some things that Jessica was doing in the background to make sure things go right. So, again, Trip Banks, thank you very much for a wonderful conversation. And I'm Mark Marquette, and we will see you tomorrow to bridge the space between us.